let's come back to see what happened or what was happening during the inception of the First Republic. So, as at the time Nigeria had its independence, the first Prime Minister of Nigeria was Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, who was Prime Minister of Nigeria from 1st of October 1960 to 15 January 1966. So, the Kundalini for that particular timeline happens to be the actual Nigerian chart, where we have Mars in the first house. Sun, like I told you, my focus is going to be with the Sun, Saturn, Mars, Rahu. These are my major planets. Let's leave the Lagna Lord. Our focus is just going to be on authority, which is the king who wears the crown, and then who controls the military, who controls the army, and then who controls the governance, the governing structure of the system. So, like I said in this chart, you can see that the Sun is in the fourth house at the time Alhaji Tafawa Balewa. So, what this means is that authority was in the north. If you look at this chart, you see how I structured it. The east, astrologically we understand that the ascendant is always the east, because like I said, the sun always rises from the east, so the ascendant is always east. Then you look at the north, by the left hand side you can see that the north relates to our fourth house. Everything controlled by the third, fourth, and fifth house is controlled by the north. And then if you look at the west controls everything, the sixth, seventh, and eighth. What this means is that the west controls our sixth house, controls our seventh house, and controls the eighth house. And then we'll come to the south. The south controls the 10th house, controls the 11th house, controls the ninth house. While the east controls the second house, controls the first house identity, and then controls the 12th house. Now, if you look between the three tribes, think the Igbos and the Yorubas happen to be the one dominating in that field. And that is because if you look at it, the west is opposing the east. West naturally opposes east. So there's a strong opposition between the east and the west. The standard as is clearly in the chart. Now let us move close. So as at the time Alhaji Tafawa Balewa was holding the office as the first Prime Minister of Nigeria, the sun was in the fourth house, meaning authority was in the north. But you see, governance, central governance was controlled by the west. Generally, do you understand? You can see it's clearly written here. So it means that the governing structure is controlled by the west. But you see, Mars is in the first house, influencing the first house of identity, which is generally the east. So I looked into, there have been stories that as at the time during the First Republic that Igbos were dominating the military. Even though the Fulanis were so much in the military, but it was a known historical fact that there were a lot of Igbos that used to be in the military back in the during the First Republic. Now coming to the governance being in the west. As you can see, Saturn is in the west. Saturn is in the seventh house. The first Aso Rock building, quote unquote, the first, Nigerian house, the presidential house, used to be where? Used to be Lagos. So by default, the governing structure, the structure of governance was in the west. But you see, the king is in the north. The north were controlling the king. The north held the scepter of rulership. You understand? So that's it for Tafawa Balewa.